What's up, YouTube? So today I am working on something for the kayaks, plural, for the Florida trip. I gotta find a way to put them up on top of the Xterra to make it easy to transport them. I can't fit them both up there flat next to each other, and I don't want to stack them on top of each other. And for some reason my Xterra only has one cross rail going across, so I can't attach the regular, like I don't know if they're Yakima or what they are, the kind of, weird U-shaped kind of kayak holders. Plus I've heard that the Outlaw doesn't fit well in those, and so I don't want to go all the way down to Florida and have that thing be on something sketchy. Plus I'd have to buy an extra one anyway because I only got one set. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make something out of PVC, and we're going to put it on top of the Xterra. Let's see if we can get this done in one day. Man, it's going to be a challenge. Here we go. Hopefully I can fit all this in the video, like in front of the camera. I mean, using my little Casso again. I had this out recently again, did really well until I got into some low light situations. Still didn't do terrible, but this camera's been great. Got it sitting on my KingJoy little mini tripod thing, which this thing is freaking amazing. So let me show you what I'm working with. I've got my plans. You probably can't see those too well as far as for the top goes, and they're not 100% complete, but hey, every once in a while you just gotta take off and start going. So I've got my measurements down for the actual roof rack that's already built onto the Xterra, and then the measurements that I'm going to need. I've got a bunch of 90s and T's and all that kinds of stuff that I believe that I need in order to get this done. Let's get started. First thing I'm going to try to do is just to lay everything out and just kind of get an idea, and then I'll cut and start putting stuff together. Alright, it's been a bit of a struggle trying to get the measurements down. The problem is there are some kind of legal roadway, I guess, issues. You can't have something as far as a rail mount that is wider than your actual vehicle, which I wouldn't have had that anyway. The problem is that I didn't want the PVC hanging way over the outside edge. It wouldn't have a lot of support if I did that anyway, and I just didn't want to do that. So I found a way, I think, to get it to set off to the side to where the mount, well, the new rail won't be very far over the edge, and I can still attach everything the way I need to. So that's what we're shooting for. Let's see if I can do this. It's not bad. Alright, quick update. I just got part of it done. I've got to have another extension going back a little bit to the very end on both ends. So this will be sticking out to the side on both sides. This will be mounted to the front near one of my attachment, like, I don't know what you want to call them, little kind of like eye-ring attachments that are on top of the actual on top of the current rack. And then this one, if I measured everything right, will go right over top of the single side rail that's already mounted, that's built into the Xterra. And then the rest will go back just a little bit more and across and back, and that'll be at the very back end of the rail toward the back of the vehicle, and I'll connect that down, and then all these other ones get connected. So let's see if I can finish this before dark. Alright, so here it is. The main part of the framing is done, And now I've got to do a little additional stuff. So let me tell you what I'm going to do. And then they take the front of the kayak, they lift it up onto the rail thing that sticks out to the side of the vehicle, and they set it up on top of that rail that has like a post going down. I saw one online that, I don't know, is more money than obviously I wanted to pay for something like that, and I figured I can make it out of PVC. And the perfect thing about the PVC I'm using, well, let me show you. So the really cool thing about the pipe I'm using, now I may not have said this, this is 1.25 inch. It's schedule 40, not that that necessarily matters. It's just like, you know, it's got a thicker lining basically than some of the other skinny stuff, but this is just the main stuff they have. So this is 1.25 inch. That's the main part of the rail, is 1.25 inch. The cool thing about that is what I did was I put a T on the end that's actually going to be closer to the front of the car, where I can slide the kayak up on top of it. And so obviously I'm not going to have this stick way out all the time. What I've done is there's a T on the end. So what I'm going to do is I use a 1 inch schedule 40. Where is it? There it is. 1 inch schedule 40 PVC. And it fits perfectly, basically, inside. Let me get it. Here we go. There we go. Look at that. Right inside of the 1.25 inch. And there's almost zero gap. Here, let me see if I can show you. Look, almost zero gap going in here. So what this helps me do, which is the plan, is that with that T that's on the other end, sticking out away from the vehicle on the side, is this will be right here. This will basically be like my T. It's the same inside dimensions, and this will slide out basically away from the vehicle, and then I'll have a 90 on the end of this going down, and another piece of 1 inch going all the way down to what would be ground level, and then that will sit on the ground. And the T part, and at the T, what I'll do is I'll have a couple of different holes drilled at different locations. I'll have two that I'll be able to slide this in, so when I'm running around on the trip, I won't have anything on that side of the PVC. I'm pointing at it like you guys can see me point. I won't have anything on the T other than maybe a cap or a plug that I'm going to have in there, so I don't have a lot of wind noise. Then when I'm ready to load or even unload the kayak, I'll just take the long part that'll be probably roughly, I don't know, 6 feet ish, maybe close to 7 feet long, and this, I'll have a pipe here sticking out from the T a little bit. I'll have a pipe sticking out from the T a little bit so I can mount a 90 onto the end of it, and it'll go down. Anyway, I'll show you. So what I'll do when I'm running, moving around and the kayaks are on it, just put a partial piece of the 1 inch or 1.25 into the T. This cap will go on the outside of it, and then that'll keep me from having, you know, extra wind noise anyway, from having a hollow tube obviously open. That thing's going to whistle. But what I'll do next, see if I can slide this over, is we have the 1 inch going through the 1.25 inch pipe through the T, and when I want to take it off, I'll take the cap off, and I'll slide this piece in. And what I'm going to have, this is hard to do with one hand, what I'll have is I'll have some holes drilled in, probably right around here, and then maybe one here depending on the length of the pipe. Let's see, I may or may not use this one. I gotta check how far out it needs to go away from the vehicle. Once I'll put this all on top of it, and then I'll figure out, well, how long do I need this piece to be in order to actually stick out far enough away from the vehicle, and it drops down and it would actually support, which it's probably doesn't have to go very far, because this whole width here is already wider than the top edge of the vehicle and wider than most of the body once the body kind of comes down from the top of the vehicle, the Xterra, it kind of comes down a little bit, and then it bumps out just a little bit more before you get to where the door panels are. So I probably won't have to stick that out very far. I'm going to measure it and just make sure I have the right length, drill the holes so that when that piece is in, it'll stay in. I bought some of these wire lock pins. Now they're zinc, but it won't matter because I'm not going to have this out all the time. They should, I measured them as best I could. They only had two sizes, this one and one way bigger. This should be able to, the pin will stick through the 1.25 inch, and then, ooh, that's going to be tight. And then this hook part, if you can see it, this hook part then snaps onto the end. You pull that off, slide it through the hole. So luckily I realized right before I drilled that if I drill down through the top to hold this in, that it might have been really difficult to loop up underneath and actually connect this. So I decided to do it from the side, or technically front and back, I suppose. And let's see if it works, if it's still lined up when I drilled it. Come on, baby. See if it shifted on me. Hang on, let's try this one down here. I drilled this one while the PVC was in there. The other one I tried to match it up as I was, after I'd already drilled the first one. May have to make the hole just a tad bigger. Oh, there we go. That's money. That. So I'll go through, snap this around it. Bam. It won't come out. Let's get the other one in it. So that now, when I put the pipe in the bottom of this and it goes down, this won't pivot. It won't go side to side. It won't spin or anything. Beautiful. I think I'm going to take it up front so that way I can get a measurement on how high the actual post needs to be. I may make it a little higher than it probably should be just to make sure, because if I'm on soft ground, then I may need that to come down a little further just to make sure it doesn't shift. For some reason Home Depot didn't have any 1-inch caps, so I got a 1-inch T, and I figured it'd give me more stability, but it won't kind of spike down, which I'd rather have that. I may try to switch it up somehow and get something that will stick into softer ground, and then maybe something else that I can take off, put back on, that will be for harder surfaces. So see if I can figure that out. But let me drag this thing up around the front and see if I can figure it out. Okay, I don't have it centered up, but that is about as perfect as I could expect for doing this for the very first time. This is bumping right up against my little loops that I tie off on all the time anyway, so I can tie off on this probably to hold this in. It bumps up against it to keep it from sliding forward. I mean, I'm going to support it probably underneath too, but then the back is right up over it's right over the rail, which I'll be able to strap down this. I can strap this down onto the rail underneath there, and this isn't too far back, even though it's up a little bit, because I didn't think about this being, let me see if I can get up there. See how these have a lip where they connect? I didn't think about that back here. Nothing really I can do about it. I mean, I could maybe stick something underneath there somehow, but, and then over here, this is what I'm talking about here. So this, that's about in the perfect position as it is. It's not going to hit the vehicle. It's right here near the door, which isn't a terrible spot, I guess. But, oh shoot, I need to make it longer. I just thought about that, because the whole purpose of doing this is so that I can actually set the kayak on this and then set it here, come back here and lift the back end up, slide it over. So I'm going to have to make that longer. It's not a big deal. I've already got the holes drilled. That won't matter. I just need a longer piece of the 1 inch and come out a good. I need to have this piece be at least probably at least 3 feet. At least 3 feet from here out. And then that way I can, I'll have plenty of room to set the nose of the kayak up on that, pick it up from the back end lift it up, set it on the back end of that, and then I'd be able to then slide it over. So that should be good. The only thing that could be bad about this is I didn't measure where the fish finder was going to land, but I don't think it'll land in there because it'll be sitting, man, I hope it doesn't. That would suck. So it's 71.5 to soft ground, so I may make it just a hair longer than that. I may just make it 72. I don't want it to be 73 because it may bow it up, but I'll probably go with 72 inches, and should be good to go. All right, gonna load the kayak on the new loader that I've got for the trip just to give it a practice shot. I'm going to the creek today, and man, I hope this works. We're gonna do this in one take, I hope. Let's get it. I had to get the transducer past the pole because I want the pole hitting the transducer. So let's see if this will slide too much on me. If this completely falls down, well, you know, it is what it is. So far, so good. I don't know if it'll stay up there. That's the problem. See if it'll stay up here. I'm leaning down. So, not terrible for the first time. Probably make some tweaks to it. I may have to put something inside the PVC, like a nice sized dowel rod or some kind of a stick or something to kind of stabilize it, because it was kind of wobbling when I put it on. May add a foam pad like a pool noodle to it. That way it won't slide as easily when I'm trying to go back and forth with it. Definitely gonna have to put something up on the top to keep it from sliding on the PVC, so we'll work on that in the next few days, but let's go fishing.